Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be testing out ELF's brand new putty primers. So for those of you who didn't know, if you haven't been on social media, ELF did recently launch 2 new putty primers in addition to their original, of course. So I'm a big fan of their original poreless putty primer. This is amazing. It's a spot-on dupe for the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer, which I love. It makes your makeup last all day. It really fills in your pores and your products go on like butter. It is amazing. So this came out at the beginning of this year, and now to end off 2019, they recently launched 2 new primers. So we have a luminous putty primer and a matte poreless putty primer. So luminous one looks like it has a yellow tint, the matte one has a slight white tint, and then the original has like a pink tint. Same concept, different claims. I ordered these directly on ELF's website just because I haven't seen them in any drugstores, but I'm sure they're going to be more relatively available in stores in the upcoming new year. So be on the lookout. If I find out any info, I will leave it in the description box below, but I just wanted to get this specifically up for you guys. That's why I always order my products online and I get like really fast shipping because I'm impatient. But I was actually filming a different video with these yesterday and just like testing out some more new makeup. I decided to just scrap that and make another video just dedicated to these because I feel like they're going to be a huge hit. So I wanted to just kind of do a side-by-side comparison. So I wanted to wear the luminous putty primer on one side and the matte on the other, see how they wear and see which one I like best. So that is what we're going to do today. So yeah, I did already use them, but I haven't like tested them out, you know, for a full day. So that is what we're going to do. So get excited, grab a snack, and let's jump into it. Okay, so of course I have no face makeup on right now. Everybody always thinks that I have like a filter on my camera. Absolutely not. So we're just gonna start off by prepping the skin. So I just did like my morning skincare and everything, but I'm gonna start priming using a primer water spray just because I want to, of course, give the products a fair shot. And that's just what I always do. Primer water, primer, foundation. So I am gonna start off with the NYX First Base Primer Spray, which is one of my favorites at the drugstore. It's so good, very hydrating, and for me, especially in the winter, this is a must. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the luminous on this side, which is my right, your left, and then the matte on the left, which is your right. As I mentioned, the packaging is identical, so it's pretty much just like the poreless putty, the original. It's just like different color, but has like that sort of same consistency, sort of feels like a balm, and it's a little bit of a thicker formula versus like a traditional primer. So this is what it looks like. Like I said, I did use it yesterday. That's why there's a dent in it, but today we're really gonna put it to the test. That's the luminous one, and then the matte one is just like, again, same concept, except this one is just has a white tint. So let's start off with some claims. So the luminous primer says it's a luminous blurring putty primer that has a velvety texture, glides over the skin to smooth over imperfections, and it adds a soft glow. Infused with hyaluronic acid and vegan collagen to help plump the skin and keep it fresh and hydrated. The result is a smooth, blurred, radiant complexion. So using this yesterday, I did notice little tiny specks of glitter. It didn't feel chunky on the skin, but they were definitely there. So let's try that again. I'm gonna do about that much. And I'm just going to start massaging this in everywhere on my right side. What I really do like about the putty primers is that even though they are thicker, they're super easy to just blend right into the skin, almost like just effortlessly. Yeah, there's definitely some glitter in this for sure. And I have combo skin, so I typically don't use luminous primers on my forehead, but for the sake of today's video and just testing this out, I'm gonna do that. But my forehead is usually the main oil spot on my face. The rest of my face is pretty normal, especially now that it's winter. So I feel like the luminosity is very subtle. It's not anything too crazy, but when you're up close and personal to me, you can really see those tiny specks of glitter, which I don't love. I also don't feel like this really did much for pore filling or smoothing out my skin. It almost just kind of feels like a little bit of a thicker moisturizer on the face. Very hydrating, very creamy, super easy to blend into the skin, but I just wish it didn't have that glitter. The glitter is like really just throwing me off, and I'm not a fan. Like, I like glitter on the eyes, not on the face, especially not with a primer. You probably can't even see the little glitter specks in person. They're so tiny, or on camera I meant, but in person you can see them. Like, they're there. They're little tiny gold glitter chunks. I mean, it's not like you can feel them, but they're there. So let's go in with the matte Putty Primer. And let's read some claims on this. This one doesn't seem to have anything in it, just traditional matte primer. So it says it's a mattifying, skin perfecting putty primer, has a velvety texture, glides effortlessly over the skin, infused with kaolin clay, white charcoal to help absorb excess oil and grip makeup for all day wear. The result, a smooth, poreless, shine-free matte complexion. So I'm gonna use, of course, the same amount that I used on the other side. And I know that you're only supposed to use a little bit of this primer, or so they say, but I find that using a lot of the putty primer works the best with my skin. Like, I just get the best result, and I just like it. So do whatever works for you. Also, these don't smell like anything, which is nice. Okay, so first impression, I already like the matte one, the way that it feels more. It feels a little bit more velvety, and I just really like the way that it looks. Honestly, I feel like it did smooth out my skin. Feels really soft, and it just looks better, like overall better prepped for makeup versus this one where I feel like it's just kind of like glittery, you know what I mean? So this side I'm really, really loving. So I'm loving the way that this side looks. Like, I feel like it looks so soft. Like, do you guys see that? Can you even tell a difference? You probably think I'm crazy, but I can tell. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the luminous side, but we are going to just apply some foundation really quick on camera together so that I can see how the products go on over top. So I'm using my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy Foundation. This is their new one that just came out. So they have the original, and then they just came out with the dewy version, which I did a full video, and I actually really do like the way this foundation looks on the skin. And I did a wear test on this, and it lasts all day. So I feel like it's like a perfect foundation for today's video. Okay, so I have two different ELF Total Face Sponges. I have the original, and then I believe this one was like a Christmas, like limited edition one, but I'm gonna use a different sponge on each side just because I did use a different primer, and this one has, like I said, glitter in it. So I'm gonna try not to spread the glitter all over the rest of my face, even though I feel like it's going to happen anyway, because glitter, it just gets everywhere. And then on the other side, I'm gonna use, again, the other ELF Total Face Sponge. Which, honestly, I like the original one more than this one that they came out with. I feel like it's just better, but I mean, it still works, but what are we thinking? I'm thinking that this side still, it looks softer, it looks prettier. This side just kind of looks, I mean, you can see the luminosity peeking through. The foundation is already like dewy, but it's not too over the top. It's a very natural dew, so it's not too much. That's why I wanted to test it out today with these primers. It's very subtle, very pretty on this side. And then this side, you can see it. I feel like it just kind of looks a little bit heavier on this side. Honestly, I feel like both sides do look really pretty, but I'm gearing more towards this side. I feel like it just looks a little bit softer and just more poreless and porcelain. And it might even look like I have some shine coming through because of my ring light that's shining on my face, but that's just the light. Honestly, this side you can see it's just more luminous. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finish up the rest of my makeup. I'm gonna do concealer, powder, bronzer, blush. I'm probably not gonna do highlight today, which I know is like so crazy. If I do, it's gonna be super minimal just because I don't wanna draw more attention to the face. I really wanna be able to test out, you know, matte versus luminous. So I think I'm gonna skip on highlighter today. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup, and I'll be right back. So I finish up the rest of my makeup. I will leave the details in the description box below. It's just like my everyday go-to glam. So couple of things. I did set my face. I used my Collab Ultra Fine Loose Setting Powder, which is my favorite. I wanted to use products that weren't going to alter the way my face looks. So like this doesn't mattify my skin or make it look more dewy. It's really just like a really good setting powder, which is one of my holy grails. And then I did also set my makeup with some setting spray, and I used my Milani Make It Last, which is my favorite drugstore setting spray because it doesn't mattify the skin, it doesn't make me dewy, it's just a make it last setting spray. Like, it really does make your makeup last all day. So I used that. I also didn't use any highlight on my face. I don't know if you guys can really tell. I just used a little bit down the bridge of my nose, a little bit right here on my Cupid's bow, and then in the inner corners of my eyes. I didn't want to look overly dewy, and I feel like highlighter tends to do that, obviously. So I wanted to just keep the face pretty matte. The only thing is the blush that I used has a little bit of a sheen, but it's nothing crazy. But this is what the face is looking like right now. I'm super impressed with it. I feel like you can't really see a huge difference. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell if I was just filming a regular video that I'm wearing two different primers on my face. At least I don't think so. But when you're in person, or when you're looking at me really up close and personal, I feel like you can see that the left side, which is where I use the matte primer, looks a little bit softer than the right side. I don't know, I feel like it just looks a little bit more seamless. The products went on a little bit more creamier and it just looks better. At least to me. The right side doesn't look bad though, and I can say that the Luminous primer, it feels just as good as the matte. Like blending it to the skin, it doesn't feel more hydrating. Both sides feel comfortable, it doesn't feel drying, and I like how both sides were super easy to blend, and the products did go on really nicely over top. I'm just gearing more towards the matte side because I feel like it looks a little bit softer. Also, I'm not loving the little tiny specks of glitter. I'm not sure if you can see them. I feel like as I'm moving my face, you can sort of see them on my face, like just kind of floating all around, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I feel like unfortunately they kind of ruined the primer with adding the glitter to it. So that is why I'm most impressed with the matte side, because I just feel like the formula and just like the finish of the way that it looks on my skin is just so much better than the luminous side. But you guys, I always say this, you're my ultimate critic. You guys can see stuff that I don't see, so let me know what you think down below. But I'm really loving this side more. But I'm gonna come back in a few hours. Right now it is 11:05 a.m. So since I first started filming, it was like around 10:15ish. So it's been almost an hour and I think everything is looking awesome. There's no like oil or shine peeking through. I feel like this, like my face, when you touch it, it doesn't feel shiny. There's a little bit of luminosity peeking through from that primer, but it's very subtle, so it's not like too much. So yeah, so far everything looks pretty good, but like I said, I like this side a little bit more. But I'm gonna come back in just a few and I'll let you guys know my final thoughts on the primers. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's late and I'm ready to take off this makeup, but of course I have to check in with you guys. So it is now 11:33 p.m. So it has been actually over 12 hours since I first applied all of my products, because I started filming like around 10:15ish. But here we are. This is what everything is looking like. I did not touch up anything. Of course I did take off my lip color. Well, it just faded throughout the day and I just have clear lip gloss on right now. I didn't really love that lip color from earlier and it looked a little janky earlier, so don't mind that. But here we are. This is what the skin looks like. So my forehead is very, very oily. As you can see, I need to touch up. Like my forehead is screaming for a blotting sheet. So we're gonna do that in just a minute. But what do you guys think? I'm still really loving the way the matte side looks. Minus the forehead though, I do feel like both sides look pretty good. I don't see like a huge difference. I feel like the Luminous Putty Primer side looks a little more like luminous in the cheek area, like it looks a little bit more accentuated, whereas the matte side, in my opinion at least, especially in person, it looks a little bit softer and just like better in general. And I feel like my forehead looks so luminous just because of the Luminous Putty Primer that I did use right in that area, but like touching around here, it doesn't feel as oily as it does on the luminous side. So that Luminous Primer for me, honestly, not a fan of it so far. I'm still really preferring the matte side. I think the matte side looks really good. Of course, my makeup doesn't look as good as it did when I first applied it, but I don't think that it looks terrible though. Like both sides, they don't look awful, but I do feel like the matte side still is a little bit softer, like a little bit softer. And it definitely did keep me matte for the most part on this side versus this side where when I touch my face, it feels a little sticky. So just kind of something to keep in mind. So I'm gonna touch up really quick so we can see how this is gonna look. I am just gonna use my Rice Paper Palladio blotting sheets, which these are my favorite, obsessed with them. And it might look a little faded also around my nose because I was wearing my glasses today. So if you see that, that's probably what that is. But oh yes, I needed to do this so bad. You can see there's a lot of oil, so something to keep in mind. But once you touch up though, I feel like it looks good as new. So this is the oil mostly on my forehead, around my nose, my chin, and on the rest of the right side of my face, which is from the luminous side. I know that's disgusting, but this is what that looks like. Let's go ahead and blot the other side so we can kind of see the oil on both blotting sheets and compare that, which I know that sounds gross, but I really want to see if there's like a huge difference as far as like blotting and everything. So just a little comparison between the oil. The luminous side definitely does have more oil than the matte side. So there we have it, a full 12-hour wear test between the new Putty Primers. Okay, my final thoughts. If I had to choose between the matte and the luminous surprise, surprise, I'm gonna go with the matte one. I love this primer. I think this is one of the most comfortable matte primers that I have in my entire collection. It was super smooth. It made my face look porcelain and just like poreless without being too much. So it was very creamy, it was easy to work with, it wasn't too heavy on my skin. My foundation and all of my other products went on really nicely over top, and overall I just really like the way my makeup wore on this side. I feel like with both sides of my face, they both wore the same, but this side, the appearance of it, the texture, and just the overall appearance, it just looks better. It looks a little bit softer, and I feel like it just held up better as far as like the shine and everything goes. This side, you can see it was just a little bit more luminous, shiny, oily, whatever you want to call it, but it definitely, and at least in my opinion, it wasn't as flawless as the matte side. So I'm really loving the matte and just the traditional OG Poreless Putty Primer. These two are amazing. I'm super excited. I will keep you guys posted on these two primers and which one I like more out of these. I do feel like though the matte one, just from like using it today, is a little bit more lightweight than the original. The original one is like intense. I mean, I love it so much, but I feel like the matte one is going to be a more like everyday friendly winter, fall, like all year round primer, just because it is so lightweight on the skin and it mattifies without being like too much on the skin, which I really like. So Luminous primer for me is out. Not a fan of the glitter. Didn't do much as far as pore filling. I mean, my makeup did last all day. The glitter, I cannot stand primers with glitter in them. So that is why for me, this is definitely a no-go. I mean, I know of course it says luminous, but I have so many primers that I love that give you that luminosity without glitter in it. And for me, this just, it's not it. And so that officially is it for this video. I hope it was a little bit helpful. If you guys were interested in any of these primers, let me know if you have tried them or you're gonna try them. What are your thoughts? Thank you so much for everything. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you guys soon in my next one. Bye.